Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Higher Consciousness. Thanks so much for joining me again for another astrology video. For those of you who don't know, my name is Alexis and I'm an astrologer and an intuitive tarot card reader here on YouTube. I am really interested in the creative healing arts and I like to use them as a way of helping people who are looking for some direction in their lives. So for today, we're going to be discussing the spring equinox. The spring equinox is coming up on March 20th, 2021. So a big message that I'm getting about this spring equinox is that it's a time for self-love and it's a time for general love renewals as a whole. And we're going to be discussing why that is. First of all, let's discuss what the spring equinox is. The spring equinox may be broken down to equa and nox. Equa meaning equal and nox meaning night. So when we have those together, equal day, equal night, the spring equinox and the fall equinox have both equal days and both equal nights on both the northern and southern hemispheres of the globe. At this time, the sun is in alignment with the Earth's axis and is traveling across the equator, the middle point of the globe. And the spring equinox represents a time of balance, a time of harmony, a time of grace. Spring equinox is also a celebration time of fertility. It means longer days, new crops, and new ideas. It's a time for general renewal. So we get out with the old and in with the new at this time. During the spring, our lives are filled with more color. There's more colors in nature as new life is emerging. And we're prompted to return back into an abundance mindset after we've gone through a time of scarcity. Some properties and symbols of the spring equinox include fertility, beginning, east direction, maiden. Because of the three goddesses, the spring is the time of the maiden. It's also related to germination, creativity, renewal, seed planting, adventure, ignition, starting up new things, sunrise, vulnerability, risk, potential, daydreaming, and wandering. So let's talk about the planetary positions during the time of the spring equinox. The Sun and Venus are conjunct on the spring equinox in the Pisces Aries transit. The connection between self-identity and love is very strong. Self-identity as represented by the Sun and love as represented by the planet Venus. So you may be feeling confident in your love life and also in providing yourself self-love. This energy represents an ending and a beginning related to self-love. A new chapter is starting up, a new you is born. Also at this time, Jupiter and Saturn are side by side in the sign of Aquarius. These two planets side by side remind us of the luck and also the great devastation of our technological advances as a society. So while it reminds us of the great luck that we can have through our technological advances, all the new discoveries and possibilities, it also reprimands us like the Saturn figure, the father figure. It reprimands us of the potential dangers that can come from our technological advances. We can see this in the way that the health industry is able to do some really outstanding procedures in modern day. On the other side, we're also very stressed out by our technology and our online presences. Some other negative connotations that have come from technology include stress, unrealistic body personas, body styles. There's also lack of the raw, unfiltered content. On the bright side here, having these two planets side by side can also represent that this father figure, the one who works very hard to gather a bunch of skills and is willing to take the journeys for the family, well, this same energy is applicable here side by side with the luck of Jupiter. Because when these two are paired up together, it reminds us that we have the potential for a great outreach, for a global outreach and interconnection. These two side by side can show an exponential growth that can occur through knowledge attainment and knowledge sharing. Also, a huge signifier of this spring equinox is that Venus is entering the sign of Aries, leaving Pisces. Mercury is entering Pisces on March 15th, just before the spring equinox. Prior to the spring equinox, there's 3 planets in a stellium in the sign of Pisces, and that includes Neptune, Venus, and Mercury. So there's a lot of energy in the zodiac sign of Pisces, and leaving this energy transforming from Pisces, which is already a transformative zodiac sign. With Venus and Neptune being in the same sign of Pisces, it demonstrates that we can keep double checking on things because things might be kind of unclear with that Neptunian Pisces energy, that we should keep our eyes peeled for our networks of communication and for what is happening in our love lives. It demonstrates that we should just do that and have our insurance so that our communications are very healthy, and so that we've ensured that there's an open line of communication. When Venus transits from Pisces into Aries the day after the spring equinox, it demonstrates the conclusion of a cycle. It demonstrates the renewal, the growth, the start of a new cycle. Venus in Aries demonstrates a start in one's love life, which is why the concentration of this video is all about self-love and about a start in the new love cycle, a renewal of self-love. You may be deepening commitment in an existing relationship, or you'll have an increase in self-love by pursuing your passions and dreams. You will be treating yourself for your successes. You will be feeling renewed and full of love, which is demonstrated by Venus's energy. You will be inspired to take action towards your goals and dreams, as demonstrated by the Mars action energy that Venus is moving into. Mercury and Neptune are in the sign of Pisces together when Mercury is entering Pisces. So with Mercury and Neptune being in the same zodiac sign of Pisces, you might be feeling like your communications are really emotionally based, and you also might be feeling like at times it might be kind of unclear what the intention is. If you're feeling a little bit lost, this is normal from this placement, and it can also be a sign that you're looking for answers, which may be found through spirituality. For those who are finding some sort of direction at this time, you might be feeling very called to study psychology or the occult practices such as tarot and astrology. The Neptune and Pisces element amplifies itself. It amplifies your draw to fantasy and to spirituality. Since Mercury will be entered in the same sign of Pisces on the spring equinox, you might be feeling more called to do more research and analysis into the psyche and to be able to communicate it. On the spring equinox, Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. It reminds us that it's a good time to apply Taurus's intelligence and work ethic characteristics into acts that will make you stand out in extraordinary ways. This is suggested by the eccentric communicator qualities of Uranus, which are inside the sign of Taurus. You will benefit by working towards your career goals in your own unique way, paving yourself a pathway and not necessarily taking the road already traveled. So while Uranus is in Taurus, it's a great time for the general public to be starting their own businesses. It's a time to go back to school, and it's a time to commit to what truly fills you with joy, what fills you with passion, what makes life worth living. It's a time of pursuing your deepest desires on an intellectual level. So it's a time of seeing value in the more challenging pathway. Perhaps you've already noticed these qualities within yourself over recent years because Uranus has moved into Taurus in 2018 and it'll be there until 2024. Mars and the moon are in the sign of Gemini during the spring equinox. While the moon is only in Gemini for 2.5 days as it has a transit cycle of 2.5 days per sign, this means that there will be an emergence of airy ideas coming through at this time. Mars will be moving into Gemini earlier in the month on the 3rd, and it'll be staying there through the spring equinox. The integration of Gemini's expansive, quick-moving, multitasking energy with Mars's adventurous action energy means that you will be interested in being involved with a lot of projects in March. As you will be busy both physically and mentally, you will be seeking to manage all of your existing projects and simultaneously receiving and starting new projects. It might be challenging to rest with this high energy. You might be having some sleepless nights, especially when both Moon and Mars are in Gemini between March 18th to March 21st. You might be feeling especially creative in a steamy, cleansing sort of way with Moon's water and Mars's fire energy in conjunction with each other, completely in Gemini on March 19th. As for Pluto, Pluto is in Capricorn and has been there since December 2020. It'll remain there for 2 decades. Pluto in Capricorn leads us to challenge authorities and the structures that they enforce. You have become organized and intentional with how you're living your life, since reminders of death have inspired you to live today as if it's your last. It is a reminder to live each day to its fullest as if it's your last. Also, there's a lesser known cosmic body known as Make-Make. It's a cosmic body that may be considered by some to be a planet and by some might be just a cosmic body floating and orbiting in our solar system. Well, this lesser known planet also has an archetype to it. It has more of a commoner sort of archetype to it. From that, I've noticed that this Make-Make is in opposition of some asteroids. So what does this opposition mean? Well, Make-Make is in opposition to Chiron, which has earned its name because of its background as a centaur, the story about the wounded healer that is a centaur. Make-Make in Libra represents the archetype of the commoner who doesn't seek the spotlight, but instead seeks balance and self-harmony. When this energy is at odds with the wounded healer, Chiron, in the active sign of Aries, it demonstrates our human desires struggle to both want to share its voice with the world and to feel self-conscious and not to share its voice. We can contrast these two as being comfortable with taking the occasional risk for self-growth, or those that feel comfortable in a static, stable position. So the tension of this opposition of energies is felt during the spring equinox. It's an opportunity to find balance between self-care and being of service to others. You'll learn to love yourself first so that you can be more available and able to provide love to others. So now that we've covered where the planets are located on the date of the spring equinox, let's talk about what it means for each astrological zodiac sign, starting with Aries. Aries, the sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Aries' first house of self, life, and new beginnings, and Aries' 12th house of sacrifice and undoings. The transit of the sun from Pisces to Aries during the spring equinox is influential to all. It's a time of renewal for all, but this is especially the case for you as it is your birthday season and the start of your astrological new year. It's likely that you went through a time of sacrifice and seclusion, and perhaps you were even in a mental state of depression. And now your hard work and sacrifices are finally being recognized and rewarded this spring equinox. The mental fog is clearing and you will be feeling re-energized by the time of your birthday. During the past year that Venus was in Pisces in your 12th house of privacy, this was from January 13th of 2020 to February 7th of 2021. During this time, your love life may have been very hidden. You may have been going through a traumatic time with a lover, or you might have had a really dreamy and indulgent time in your love life. Now that Venus is moving into your first house of spotlight and action, you are ready to publicly share about your relationship and move into a new chapter with your partner. It's a make it or break it moment upcoming in the spring equinox, in which you and your love are going to be evolving in the relationship and committing to healthier standards, or else you may be calling it quits after finding that their intentions and energy are not aligning with yours. If you're single, then you're likely overcoming some lost love that was lost in the past year, and now you are ready to actively date again. Taurus. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Taurus's 12th house of karma and undoings, and Taurus's 11th house of community and uniqueness. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Taurus's 11th house to the sun in Aries in Taurus's 10th house demonstrates that you went through a time of change in your community or social network during Pisces season. And now that some partnerships have fallen away to lead to new growth in existing and new friendships, you're ready to shine a light in dark areas as a form of self-sacrifice, which will benefit your community. This spring equinox, the sun transiting into Taurus's 12th house prompts you to use your network to raise awareness of society's narrow view of treating people who are facing socioeconomic challenges. You may desire to do charity work or to raise awareness of a cause at this time. If it is you who may be feeling challenged by society, then know that you have the power to heal your life. During the past year that Venus was in Pisces in your 11th house of rebellion and community, that was January 13th, 2020 to February 7th, 2021. During this time, you may have taken risks in your relationship by fixating on your outreach to your friends, family, and your community. If your partner appreciates your community, then your relationship likely blossomed in 2020. And if your partner doesn't mix with your community, then you likely grew apart over the past year. Now that Venus is moving into your 12th house of karma and undoings, it is time to meditate on your relationship while alone this spring equinox. Venus is in your 12th house, and it holds the potential for dreamy love or a traumatic loss in the year ahead. So being aware of your boundaries and separating fantasy from reality will be helpful in maintaining your mental health. Gemini. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Gemini's 11th house of community and invention and Gemini's 10th house of career and status. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Gemini's 10th house to the sun in Aries in Gemini's 11th house demonstrates that you went through a time of work and career changes during Pisces season over the past month. And now that you have had insight on your work, role, and career development, it's time to build your network and strengthen professional partnerships so that your newly marketed services can be made available to those who need it. This spring equinox, the sun is transiting into Gemini's 11th house of community, which prompts you to network with like-minded individuals to have the support that you need to bring your talents to light and to be able to put them to use. During the past year that Venus was in Pisces in your 10th house of social roles and destiny, you may have met a lover through work and your career, or you could have bonded with an existing partner through your work projects and developing your professionalism together. If you're single, then there is a chance that you may be attracted to someone of a mentor, guide type. And this may be occurring while Venus is transiting through your 11th house of rebellion and friendship. The transit of Venus into Aries may initiate a new chapter in your relationship with an existing partner, or it may lead you towards this new crush. Cancer. Welcome, Cancers. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Cancer's 10th house of career and status and Cancer's 9th house of philosophy and knowledge. So the transit of the sun in Pisces in Cancer's 9th house to the sun in Aries in Cancer's 10th house demonstrates that you went through a time of educational growth and truth-seeking in Pisces season. Now it's time to apply your true passions, hobbies, and disciplines of focus into your career. If there's room to create an intersection of your niches by bringing knowledge of a skill into the workplace, then this is your time to do so. If you're unable to fulfill any of your true passions through your job, then perhaps it is time for a career change. So list all the qualities that you want in a job and set your intentions for a fulfilling job search. This spring equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces into Aries. So during the past year that Venus was in Pisces, which occurred from January 13th of 2020 to February 7th, 2021. During the time that Venus was in Pisces, in your 9th house of discovery and knowledge, you may have bonded with a lover through education, spirituality, and or travel. If you're not in a relationship, then you may have found that you're seeking the following characteristics in a partner: skillful, insightful, experienced, creative, and explorative. You've visualized what you and your love's emotional and career-based potentials are. And now with Venus and Aries in your 10th house of status, it's time to put in the hard work and to develop your professionalism in order to manifest abundance into your love life over the next year. The transit of Venus into Aries may initiate a status upgrade for you and your partner, or it may lead you to developing a crush on someone who works hard. Leo. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Leo's 9th house of travel and education and Leo's 8th house of transformation. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Leo's 8th house to the sun in Aries in Leo's 9th house demonstrates that you went through a time of withdrawal and emotional darkness this Pisces season. Now it is time to light your heart up with creativity and educational pursuits. So perhaps you just got billed or taxed, perhaps you missed an important deadline, or you may have lost love. If you can view the emotional loss that you just went through as a lesson learned and see yourself as stronger for experiencing it, then you will be creatively inspired and ready to dust yourself off by the spring equinox. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the past year that Venus was in Pisces from January 13th to February 7th of 2021, and your 8th house of reincarnation, you may have been deeply disappointed by your love life, and you have grown in interest in seeking direction in your love life through occult practices such as tarot. You have been working on your emotional self and learning to love yourself more. The transit of Venus into Aries may initiate a greater level of self-love as you step into a creative spotlight. From this level of self-love and joyful, intuitive spontaneity, potential love interests are finding you attractive. Virgo. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Virgo's 8th house of transformation and Virgo's 7th house of close partnerships. The transit in the sun in Pisces and Virgo's 7th house to the sun in Aries and Virgo's 8th house demonstrates that you went through an evolution within your close relationships, and now you are moving into an emotionally transformative time as you acknowledge all the pressures that you are already carrying with the added weight of others' burdens that you have taken upon. You will likely be paying debts off at this time, and others will be calling on you for help. During the emotionally trying time of Aries season, remember the love that you have for yourself, your partner, your friends, and family, as well as your love for your projects, which keeps you resilient and hopeful during challenging times. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the past year that Venus was in Pisces, from January 13th to February 7th of 2021, in your 7th house of close partnerships, you are likely in a state of emotional and spiritual bliss with your love. You are fantasizing, dreaming about the future, and now you are being prompted to take a leap of faith in investing your resources to make the next chapter of your love story a reality. If you're single, you likely went through a year of bonding with a best friend or a group of friends, and the spring equinox is revealing that these partnerships are not necessarily what you intended for them to be, and now you are learning to become more self-reliant. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you to act on your love fantasies or to fall in love with the occult practices or an occult practitioner. Libra. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Libra's 7th house of close partnerships and Libra's 6th house of health and wellness. The transit of the sun in Libra's 6th house to the sun in Aries and Libra's 7th house demonstrates that you just experienced a glow up and an increase in efficiency and productivity in Pisces season. Now you are getting social attention by leading by example. Your unconventionality in your close partnerships and in the way you self-identify is head turning. No other sign pulls off quirky quite the way that you do, Libra. Your healthy confidence will captivate your social network, including individuals from all walks of life. So during the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. This is a grand alignment for you as Venus is Libra's planetary ruler, and the 7th house of partnerships is correlated to your zodiac sign. Therefore, the alignment of your ruling planet moving into your ruling house will amplify your social presence. During the past year that Venus was in Pisces, occurring from January 13th, 2020 to February 7th, 2021, while this was happening in your 6th house of habits and health, you were likely falling back in love with working out, and or you had a love life that involved going to work out with your partner. You freshened up your daily habits and your love life, and now you are being prompted to use your renewed confidence to take the next step in your romantic relationship in the year ahead. If you're single, then you've been catching a lot of people's eyes and quickly overlooking them because it presents too many options for you and you are a perfectionist. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you to start a new chapter in your love life or to seek affection and appraisal from your admirers. The spring equinox will call on you to create more defined boundaries in your relationships to find balance. Scorpio. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Scorpio's 6th house of health and habits and Scorpio's 5th house of pleasure and creativity. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Scorpio's 5th house to the sun in Aries in Scorpio's 6th house demonstrates that you have found joy in the simple pleasures of life, such as being surrounded by loved ones and in being creative. And now you will be inspired to channel some of this creative energy, this passion energy into manifesting work opportunities in abundance this spring equinox. If you had a blockage in your ability to find happiness during Pisces season because you felt guilty about having fun when there's work to be done, then you are being called to explore more creative-based work that allows for fun at work. By listening to your intuition, you will be able to create a new lifestyle routine that meets both your wants and your needs. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the last year that Venus was in Pisces, which occurred from January 13th of 2020 to February 7th of 2021, during this time that Venus was in Pisces, in your 5th house of fun and joy, you likely experienced a renewed sense of playfulness in your existing relationships. You may have rekindled your relationship with an existing partner or had a pleasurable fling. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you and your partner to develop new habits and routines, or it may be that your elevated awareness of your health needs will prompt you to take the next step in your relationship or part ways if their health goals are not aligning with yours. Sagittarius. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Sagittarius's 5th house of pleasure and creativity and Sagittarius's 4th house of home and family. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Sagittarius's 4th house to the sun in Aries in Sagittarius's 5th house demonstrates that you have recently invested in your home. Whether it's cleaning, remodeling, building an addition, expanding, organizing, your home has changed this Pisces season to bring you a lot of comfort. Now that your home is feeling secure, you're ready to bring in some excitement to it through a game night, creating some art, or getting intimate with a partner this spring equinox. If your private self isn't feeling secure in your home environment, then it could be stifling your creativity. If so, try some simple home fixes, such as painting the walls a new color or buying some comfy, luxurious pillows. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the last year that Venus was in Pisces, which occurred from January 13th of 2020 to February 7th, 2021, in your 4th house of home and family, you likely gained insight of your deep admiration for your partner and your children, and you found comfort in designing and organizing your home space. If you live alone or with roommates, then you have found your freedom and your sense of community while living with a family of choice to be a blessing. Regardless of your living arrangement, where you reside is your home, and in your home you have experienced love. Love is the energy that it was built upon. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you and your partner to seek more games, activities, and arts to rekindle sparks in your relationship. If you're single, then you definitely have some admirers who are seeking to win your heart with romantic dates and passionate love. Capricorn. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Capricorn's 4th house of home and family and Capricorn's 3rd house of communications and analytics. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Capricorn's 3rd house to the sun in Aries in Capricorn's 4th house demonstrates that you went through a time of analyzing your life and communicating about your feelings to friends and family more. Now that Pisces season is ending, you are noticing old patterns in your lifestyle and home environments that aren't serving you anymore. You are being called by your ancestors to learn their stories and to gain awareness of family traditions that you seek to continue and evolve. Maybe there are some lifestyle patterns that you don't want to continue. Consider how your home environment may or may not be serving you and what you have been contributing to it. Home should be a comfortable environment, and there's always room for growth. As the sun transits signs and houses on the equinox, you will be creating new home traditions and cleansing your environment. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the last year that Venus was in Pisces, which occurred from January 13th, 2020 to March 7th, 2021, during this time, Venus was in your third house of communication and short-term travel. You likely have been very flirty and charismatic with sending messages, photos, and calls to your love. You may have taken a trip with your partner, or you may have taken a trip to meet a love interest. Perhaps you even met a love on a trip. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you and your partner to take the next step in your love story. Whether it's moving in together, getting married, or starting a family, it may be occurring within the next year. If you're single and looking, then it may be a time to ask yourself who really makes you feel at home. Aquarius. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Aquarius's third house of communications and analytics, and Aquarius's second house of values and finances. The transit of the sun in Pisces in Aquarius's second house to the sun in Aries in Pisces' third house demonstrates that you went through a period of financial uncertainty, which increased your feelings of instability and isolation. You may have gained an interest in spirituality at this time as you searched for answers to feel more stable. Even if you are financially stable, the sun in Pisces transit made you fixated on money and material possessions. Now that Pisces season is ending, you are learning to communicate your wants and needs more so that you can have your wishes for abundance fulfilled. The spring equinox and Aries season will be a time of travel, retreat, vacationing, and growing your community for you. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the last year that Venus was in Pisces, which occurred from January 13th, 2020 to February 7th, 2021, Venus was in your second house of finances and values. So you likely have been seeking or receiving finances from your partner or your love interest. It's likely to have been an emotional and passionate time as your values were tested. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you and your partner to seek healthier forms of communication. Perhaps you will see a therapist, join a group, or create some art together. You may also plan a trip or retreat with your partner, or you may go on a retreat and end up finding love. If you are single, then this will be a time of building your self-love and self-identity through community outreach. Pisces. The sun on the spring equinox is on the cusp of Pisces' second house of values and security, and Pisces' first house of self-expression. The transit of the sun in Pisces' first house to the sun in Aries in Pisces' second house demonstrates that you went through a time of rediscovering your identity and getting attention for your creative work. You are likely excelling at school, work, and in your personal life. Now that we are transiting from Pisces season to Aries season, you are learning to value yourself more. Since your hidden talents have been discovered and you have been admired for your gifts, you are attracting an abundance of opportunities and income. The spring equinox and Aries season will be a time to set intentions for future income and to work on budgeting and finances. During the equinox, Venus is also transiting from Pisces to Aries. During the last year that Venus was in Pisces, which occurred from January 13th, 2020 to February 7th, 2021, Venus was in your first house of self and interaction. You likely were getting showered with gifts, beautiful dates, and commitments from your partner. You may have found connection with your partner through spirituality practices and experiences in nature. If you were single at this time, you had a major spiritual glow up through your self-love. which has led you to an increase in your intuitive skills and manifestation capabilities. The transit of Venus into Aries may influence you and your partner to invest in a home together or to buy new furniture. If you're single, then it's time to invest in your personal and business security. Regardless of your relationship status, you are attracting wealth and monetary gain this spring equinox and in the months ahead. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope that you found it insightful and you feel prepared for the spring equinox 2021. If you like this video, please like and subscribe down below. I look forward to seeing you in a future video, in a future reading. Take care. Bye.